Dieting is the most important part of losing fat, but it's also the hardest part to get right. I used to struggle with my own diet and it caused me to balloon up to 248 pounds, and I stayed fat, depressed, and without hope for years. Eventually I figured out the mistakes I was making, and once I corrected those, I managed to lose 70 pounds of fat, build 8 pounds of muscle, and get in the best shape of my life. And in today's video, I'm going to reveal to you 5 diet mistakes that 93% of men make so that you can correct them, lose fat, build muscle, and change your life forever. Now the first, and likely the most common, is cutting your calories too low, aka crash dieting. I made this mistake myself. When I first decided I wanted to lose fat, I worked out that my maintenance calories were around the 3,000 mark, so I decided to cut that in half and try and eat 1,500 calories a day. Big mistake. All this did was cause me to feel like shit. I crashed my metabolism, my energy was low, I wrecked my hormone levels, and I was hating life. And all of that caused me to only last about 2 weeks, and I rebound dieted, and I ended up fatter and heavier than I was before I started the diet. You have to understand this. Yes, it may be appealing to lose 2, 3, or 4 pounds of weight every single week, but it's not just fat you're burning. When you cut your calories that low, you're also burning muscle tissue. And like I said, you'll sleep worse, you'll have no energy, and you'll just be pissed off all the time. If you have any kind of responsibilities, let's say kids or a busy job, it's just not compatible. And okay, let's say you get through a month of it. You would have lost some weight, you would have lost some fat along with some muscle, but you also would have crashed your metabolism, which means even a slight increase in calories is going to cause you to gain fat. It makes so much more sense to go with a sustainable deficit. One, because you'll actually be able to function like a normal member of society, and 2, you'll be able to maintain the results you achieve. For most of you out there, if you're between 20 and 25% body fat, I'd recommend a daily deficit of 500 calories. If you're over 25% body fat, then I would go over 1,000 calorie daily deficit, but never more than that. With that level of deficit, you're going to be able to train properly, recover well, and again, function like a normal human being. It may feel like the results are coming slow, but it's the only way to guarantee results, and more importantly, maintain your results for the rest of your life. So do not make the mistake of crash dieting, because I promise you, you will not see the results you want. The second mistake is only focusing on clean eating. And before I delve deeper into this one, obviously I'm not saying there's anything wrong with eating clean. You just need to know that eating clean doesn't guarantee fat loss. You could eat nothing but chicken, salmon, rice, vegetables, and fruits and still not lose fat if you are eating too many calories, because fat loss is not determined by the food you eat, it's determined by your calorie intake. And the flip side is also true. You could have a chocolate bar and a can of Coke every single day and still lose fat as long as you're in a deficit and you're getting enough protein. The simple fact is, whether you eat clean or not, you can't just ignore macros and calories. Adding to that, it creates a shitty mindset in your head where you start personifying different foods as good and bad. And all that's going to do is create binge restrict cycles, and in the worst case scenario, an eating disorder. I can still remember some of the earliest diets that I tried, the clean diets, keto, carnivore, and other diets like that, like paleo for example. And I stick to them for a week or two, I'd see some good results, and then I'd get cravings for chocolate or some crisps. I'd have one piece of chocolate, and because I was in the mindset of, oh, those foods are bad, I'd sit there hating myself. I wouldn't be able to look in the mirror, I'd stop my diet, gain all the fat back, and just sit on my sofa in a state of depression because I had one piece of chocolate. That is not healthy, and it's not going to lead to long-term, lifelong results. A much better approach is the approach that I use now, the 80-20 diet, where 80% of my calories come from single ingredient whole food sources, and 20% of my calories come from whatever I want, with zero restrictions, as long as I'm meeting my calorie and my macro target daily. This changes everything because you can't fall off your diet anymore. There's no good food, there's no bad food. You just eat 80% whole foods, 20% what you like, and guess what? That brings long-term, lifelong results, and that is what we are after. All right, on to mistake number 3, and this one makes me rage, and it's not eating enough protein. Listen to me, and listen clearly. If you want to lose fat and build muscle, you have to eat enough protein every single day. And a couple eggs in the morning and one measly little chicken breast in the evening is not enough. You need to eat 1 gram of protein per pound of your desired body weight. So if you want to be 180 pounds, 180 grams of protein, 160 pounds, 160 grams of protein. Look, if by the end of your diet you want to end up skinny fat, then carry on eating no protein. But if you want to look better than 95 to 99% of men, you have to eat enough protein, so get your goddamn protein in. And if you're asking me why does protein matter so much, let me explain. Firstly, it's the most satiating macronutrient out of fat, carbs, and protein, so it's going to keep you fuller for longer, which means you're less likely to binge, and you're more likely to stick to your calorie deficit. Secondly, has the highest thermic effect out of those 3 macronutrients, meaning your body uses more energy i.e. more calories, to burn the protein. And finally, it means your body is going to focus on burning fat rather than muscle. And what does that mean? It means you lose fat and maintain or build muscle, and you look great. When I personally finally took my protein seriously, everything changed again. I stopped having snack urges, I wasn't starving all the time, and I started to see fat come off and muscle come on, and I looked way better than I ever had before. The best way to ensure you are getting enough protein in is to build each of your meals around a high source of protein. So Greek yogurt, chicken, beef, fish, eggs, etc. And fill in the gaps with protein shakes and protein bars where necessary, just don't rely on them. The long and short of it is a calorie deficit creates fat loss, but your protein intake determines whether you end up skinny fat or lean, athletic, and muscular. So you make that decision for yourself. Okay, look, before I get on to mistake number 4, I just want to make you aware of something. I've just launched Outlier Academy, my free community where inside you'll find training plans, recipes, and you'll have access to exclusive content that will never be on YouTube, as well as weekly live calls where you can ask me anything you want. Also, it'll be a community of men who are like-minded, who want to lose fat, build muscle, and change their lives forever. So if you want to start your journey from average to outlier today, join now, link in the description, and yes, it's free. Okay, on to number 4, and it's drinking your calories. Liquid calories don't fill you up, they don't register in your stomach the same way as food does, and they're really sneaky. Sometimes you'll see a drink, you'll be like, that can't have that many calories in, but before you know it, that's 300 calories added to your bottom line, and it's gonna destroy your deficit. Let me break it down for you. A large coffee is 250 calories, that's before adding any sugar or syrup. A glass of orange juice is over 100 calories, and a smoothie can be anywhere from 300 to 500 calories. Also, let's not ignore the worst offender of them all, alcohol. A pint of beer contains anywhere from 180 to 280 calories, and the average man in the UK drinks 6 pints a week. 6 pints a week. Think about that for a second. Think about the amount of calories that contains, not to mention the health negatives you're getting from that. One of my own personal earliest mistakes was drinking smoothies all the time. I didn't really think about the amount of calories that it may contain. I just thought, okay, coconut water, vegetables, fruit, how many calories can it really have? Little did I know that was 400 or 500 calories extra added to my bottom line that I wasn't accounting for. And that's the difference between losing a pound of fat a week and losing nothing. You need to stop drinking calories every day. Every now and then is fine. Look, 80-20 like we said, but focus on stuff like Coke Zero, black coffee, and water or sparkling water. Throw some lemon in there and it tastes good. Avoid sugary drinks, smoothies, and fruit juices unless they are accounted for, but focus on solid food because that's gonna fill you up way more and make it easier to stick to your diet. Mistake number 5 is cutting out carbs. The amount of bullshit propaganda out there telling you that carbs are awful, the devil, the worst thing in the world is crazy. But let me make it clear to you, carbs are not evil. The idea that carbs somehow make you fat is just stupid. Again, too many calories is what makes you fat, not too many carbs. I speak to so many guys who tell me, oh, ex-keto influencer told me to cut out carbs, but now I feel like shit, I have no energy, and I just can't get anything done. And trust me, I get it. Again, I tried keto and carnivore when I was fat, and did they help me? Absolutely fucking not. All I did was ruin my energy levels, ruin my drive to go to the gym, and made me rebound diet over and over again because it destroyed my relationship with food. And will they work for you? Probably not. And why? Well, think about it like this. Let's say you cut out an entire food group. You say, I'm never going to eat carbs again. What do you think is going to happen? All you're going to do is crave those foods 24/7. And eventually you'll cave. And guess what? You'll binge and you'll put all the weight back on and lose every bit of progress that you made. It's just not sustainable for 99% of people. All that alone would be enough to justify not cutting carbs, but I haven't even got into all the benefits of them yet. Carbs literally fuel you to train harder and lift heavier. You need glycogen. And guess where glycogen comes from? Carbs. Here is how to go about your carb intake. Firstly, have most of your carbs around 90 to 120 minutes before your workout and focus on quality carbs like potatoes, rice, oats, whole grain bread, and pasta. Also have them with a source of protein to keep you full. The carbs you should avoid are refined carbs like sugary snacks, cereal, white bread, but again, not because they are evil, but because they don't fill you up and they're easy to overeat. Carbs are your friend. When they are utilized in the right way, you will get better results, and that's a fact. So there you have the 5 diet mistakes that I see all the time that I personally went through again. Listen, if you correct all those, I guarantee you will skyrocket your chance of losing fat, building muscle, and changing your life forever. If you're even making one of those mistakes, change it now. Start today, not tomorrow. Don't think, just act. And that's how you will change faster than you could ever imagine. If you want some help making those changes, you have one of 2 options. Join Outlier Academy again for free today, link in the description. Alternatively, if you want to work with me directly and on a one-on-one basis, there's a link to book a call in the description where we'll sit down and we'll see where you're at, where you want to be, what's been holding you back, and how we are going to get you there. Other than that, if you enjoyed this video, leave it a like, share with a friend, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.